There's a moment we all have to deal with, and it's one of these existential moments. And it usually means you're at a restaurant and you've ordered, say, a hamburger or something like that, right? And the waiter or the waitress comes up to you and says, "What'd you like? I'll have a hamburger." And then they ask you this question: what sides do you want? Who automatically says salad? Any salad people out there? Any fries people out there? How many of you have this two voices in your head, or like two angels, or voice in your shoulder? One's saying, "You should totally have fries." The other one's like, No, you should eat salad. Come on, watch your weight." And the other one's like, No, fries are really good. You've eaten really good lately. But no, salad, right? Be honest, how many of you have those voices in your head? It's amazing when I start to when I pay attention to the thoughts in my mind, how much of my mind is doing things like that. Should I work out tonight? Should I sit on the couch and watch Netflix? Should I go to bed on time? Should I stay up late? Should I go out, or should I hide at home? Can you feel the voices in your mind? It's almost like there's two parts of you, and they don't necessarily agree, or they don't think the same thoughts. But it goes deeper than that, doesn't it? There's voices in your head that are going through your to-do list. There's voices in your head that are watching the people around you. Oh, shouldn't have done that. Oh, watch it. Oh, wait, they're upset. And then there's the deeper voices, the dark voices. I have a voice in my head that says, "No one's going to take care of you, Vince. You have to take care of yourself." That voice is always like, "Hey, Vince, no. And even times when I'm like, no, I'll be fine. It's like it steps a foot away from me and starts looking at my life, and it's just waiting for the moment that it's right. I say to my wife, "Hey, babe, can you do something?" And she literally pauses for like half a millisecond. And that voice is like, "See, I told you. She's not going to do it. I told you. Why did you even ask?" You maybe don't have that voice. Do you have the voice that says people don't love you? People aren't going to stay around? There's something wrong with you? You're dumb? Oh, we have voices in our heads, don't we? And when we're doing really good, those voices are just voices, and we say, "Hey, I hear you, yeah." When we're not doing well, they take over. And you can feel them running your life. That's when things get painful. I'm going to talk about how to deal with those voices today. Because today we're at the final message of a series we've been doing called Spiritual Ninjas. Now, what did I call it? Spiritual Ninja Training. Thank you, Holly. It's this idea that says our spirituality isn't something that just happens. It's something that we have to work at. We have to grow in. We have to train ourselves. And the reason we did it now, just before Christmas, is because this is sometimes the most stressful time of the year. The band plays Everybody's Hurt. Did you know that during Christmas, more people are more depressed than any other time of the year? It makes sense. Every year I go into Christmas and I think, "Oh, my mom's not here." And I can feel the sadness of that. It doesn't overwhelm me, but I can feel it on top of everything in my life normally. I now have this layer of, "Oh yeah, another Christmas without my mom." Can you feel that? Our lives are busy and full, but you add Christmas parties and gatherings and gift buying and budgets that maybe are getting a little bit blown this year, and wondering, did you invite the right person, and are they going to show up, and how are we going to do this, and okay, you're going to drive the kids there and I'll get them there, and then magically they're going to show up someplace else because we literally don't have another driver. Christmas. If you're stressed right now, you're not alone. If it feels a little overwhelming, you're not alone. If you're hurting, you're not alone. But we don't have to sit here. Spiritual ninjas seem to have a way of navigating all of this skillfully. And I don't know about you, but I freaking need that. Through this series, we've talked about all kinds of things. We've talked about having healthy relationships with our desires. Jeff brought that one up at the beginning. Good message. I talked about this idea of war and making the commitment to stay out of I against them. Can you throw up the model for me, Holly? We've been talking about this model, I, them. I against them is in when we're not healthy. We can move up of that into I with them, where we work together. We asked the question, could you commit to staying out of I against them, staying out of war? It's tricky. Trevor talked about the beauty of the I. That you can, don't put up your hand because this is embarrassing, but how many of you think we is just them without I? You're like, when I turn myself down, then everyone else is happy and then everything's fine, right? Trevor's message said, no, the I's got to be in there. It's like, oh, that just makes it harder. How many times do we show up and are not open about what we want or what we need? We've done all this stuff. Last week, Jeff talked about what faith looks like. It's not mental assent per se, or only mental assent. It's also phileas, this idea of behaving in a certain way. And that's where we're going to end today. A set of behaviors that manage the voices in our heads to create peace. I used to work in a grade 6 classroom. I was a teacher's aide for a year. Learned a lot. One day, right near the end, Mrs. Sonderberg, the teacher, says, Mr. Clausen, because they had to call me Mr. Clausen. It was always a bit weird. I was looking for my dad most of the time. Mr. Clausen, could you come up to the front of the classroom? I worked with a kid, so I sat with my kid and made sure that he didn't burn the place down, which sometimes was touch and go. But Mr. Clausen, could you come up to the front and could you write down the words that the kids say as they say them? Simple request. I still remember instantly sweat pouring down my body. I can even feel it in my body. It's like it's tingling and there's a part of me that's locked up. It won't want to move. The only thought that was going through my head was run. You need to run. You need to run. Vince, you need to run. Why aren't you running? You see, what maybe you don't know is I can't spell. And I know you're thinking, haha, yeah, you can't spell. No, like I really can't spell. I thought this was going to be easier to talk about. I thought I dealt with this one already. Like really can't spell. I remember in grade school having tutors. Even now I'll say I can't spell and they're like, what do you mean? You have a huge vocabulary. Yeah, I do. I can't spell most of the words though. It's so bad that I never learned to write properly because I didn't know how to spell the words. So I learned to write the first couple letters and then I would just kind of like wiggle. So if you ever get a note from me, and Justin, this is for you, if you're in my head, you can read it. If you're not in my head, you can't because most of the letters aren't there because I don't know them. I was about to be put in front of a classroom of grade 6 kids, asked to spell words on a board. And I'm panicking. You see, we've been using this book called No Bad Parts. Can you throw up? Last time I forgot to tell you the book name. No Bad Parts, it's that book. In it is a way of looking at the world. A way of looking at the world that thinks deeply about how the voices in your head work, how they relate, and how to heal them. Now, the system is fairly simple. Can you throw up the IFS model for me? IFS just stands for Internal Family Systems. It's just an acronym. The first model says you have this self. We're going to talk a lot about self today. That's you and me. That's the thing that's listening to me. That's the thing in your head, and Jeff has been championing this for years. That's the thing in your head that's hearing the voices that say, you should have fries right now. You have eaten healthy all week. You totally deserve fries. Now, something happens in your life that's painful. It's either an emotion or experience or something. And you take that situation. For me, do you guys all know which part what you do is you exile it. Can you throw up the next slide for me? You take this part and you throw it into the deepest, darkest bowels of your mind where you never hopefully have to deal with it, ever. Ever. What was my exile? Just yell it out for me. Spelling. The embarrassment. I'm good at everything else. It's just I can't spell. I feel dumb. I feel all these feelings. I don't want to feel them. So what do? You don't live there. That feels like that's the worst feeling ever. So what you do is you create a manager. You put a manager up there. Can you throw up the next slide for me? The manager parts are designed to make sure that you never have to experience the exile. Mine was I'm a teacher's aide, which means I'm at the back of the classroom, not at the front of the classroom. When she said, Mr. Clausen, could you come to the front? It was like my manager was like, oh, sweet Jesus, what are we doing? Can you throw up the next slide for me? You see, our manager parts, they talk a lot to us. These are the voices often we hear in our heads. And what the manager is trying to do is he's trying to protect us from the thing that's so painful. That's why he calls it no bad parts. Each part's trying to do something. The part that's keeping me back at the classroom is trying to make sure I don't ever feel horrible feelings. Now, if your manager ever isn't able to do that, she jumped ahead of me here for a second. If your manager ever isn't able to do that, when Mrs. Sonderberg says, Mr. Clausen, can you please come to the front? My manager is like, we need another system. They call it throw up once more, distractor parts. He calls them the firefighters. These are things that all hell is breaking loose, burn the place down, whatever you need to do. That's the voice in my head that's like, run. You need to run. Vince, run. Why aren't you running? Run. There's a model inside of us that this is all going on. Now, I'm guessing you're starting to see that there's parts of you that fit different parts of those categories, right? I'm going to show you your managers in a second, but let me just back up 1 second. I want to show you something why I'm telling you this, how it applies to the Sensei James series, Spiritual Ninja Training, because we've been working with a guy named Sensei James. It's an author in the Bible. We gave him the name James. We called him Sensei James because he's a teacher. And he has these 12 lines. I picked 8 of them. 8 ones that just punch me in the side of the head. And the last one we're talking about today, he says this. Can you throw up the first line for me, Holly? He says this: ask for wisdom with full commitment, never doubting, for the one who doubts is like a wave of the sea, driven and tossed by the wind. Now, a couple things. Doubting is actually the word faith that Jeff talked about. Ask with faith. What exactly does that mean? Now, the whole tossing and turved like waves on a sea, yeah, I can feel that. Should I work out tonight, or should I sit and watch Netflix? Should I spend the money that I budgeted, or I haven't budgeted, or should I not spend the money? I can feel the inside of me, sometimes it's not clear in there. There's not clear direction. There's parts fighting, and I don't quite know which way to go. And sometimes I find myself doing things I don't really think I should have done. I feel the tossing and turning. Can you feel that? Now he says the next line, and this is the line that got me. This is going to take us back to internal family systems. It's going to take us back to those voices. This line says this: for the one who doubts, being double-minded. Double-minded. Do you have more than one voice in your head sometimes? Is there triple-minded? Is there quadruple-minded? Is there a whole chorus? Anyone, for the old school people who grew up in Sunday school, not all of you, but some of you, do you remember the line, Jesus asks somebody, what's the name of the voices in your head? And the person answers, they're legion, because they are many. I don't know if this is what they meant, but sometimes I feel like there's a whole party going on in there. Now here's the deal. The managers we put in place are all voices that are talking. They're trying to protect us from the exiles. Can you throw up the first manager for me? This is what the managers look like. Sorry, 1 second. Holly, can you throw up the first manager for me? It should say something like perfectionist or something like that. We had some technical difficulties on multimedia this week. The perfectionist voice. Does anyone have this voice in your head? At Christmas, it sounds like this. You have to have everything on the table at the right time, in the right way, perfectly warm, with the right napkins and the right tablecloth and the right everything. You have to be wearing the right outfit. The house has to be perfectly clean. It has to all be done. Anyone got that? Don't put up your hand, but anyone hearing that voice in your head right now? That one's hard, isn't it? It's not very nice. Because when you screw up one little thing, well, I put the fork on the wrong side, and it's like, seriously, you did what? Not to mention 3 Christmases ago, the napkins were on the other side too. What are you doing? Meanwhile, you're trying to cook, and you have these voices in your head going seriously. And then the other day, your shoes weren't tied properly. You showed up at a party with the wrong outfit. You were late. Oh, that manager's voice is loud, isn't it? Can you throw the next one up for me, Holly? The doer. This is me. This is why I have road rage. I've learned this through this series. The reason I have road rage is because I've packed so much into my life. Because the second I'm not doing, I feel uncomfortable. It's like I can hear the exhale going, and I'm like, do more, do more, do more, do more. So when someone's driving slow in front of me, I can hear the voice of the exile. And I don't like it. And so I'm yelling at them to hurry up because I got more to pack into my day. I put 13 things on my to-do list when I had time for about 4 of them. It's brutal. Can you throw the next one up for me? Thinker. Oh, I don't know anything about that one. These are people like me who conceptualize everything. Let me think about that. How are you feeling? Let me think about that. Well, attachment theory says blah, 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 right? Any of you hide up here? You can even feel it. When you're talking, it feels like it's talking from here. Someone's like, hey, how you doing? It's up here. Because if I feel something, I can hear the exile. I can feel the pain. We're not even conscious of it. Our managers are so good. They're just working for us all the time. We don't even realize what's going on other than, well, I'm just a logical person. I'm just a thinker. Feelings? Throw up the next one for me, Ollie. Controller voice. I heard a Christmas thing. They were writing into one of those ask advice columns. The person wrote in, my sister invited me to Christmas this year. It's lovely. She gave me a list of things I needed to bring for food. I asked her if we could change one because I didn't want to do one of them because I don't know how to do it. She uninvited me from Christmas. We laugh, but the things that we want to control, anyone feel the controller inside of you? It needs to be this way. We need to clean the house this way. I remember a couple of months ago, I asked you, how often should you vacuum the house? I still remember the energy in the room. People are like, oh, don't even go there, Clausen. Because the controller says if my house isn't clean, all hell is going to break loose and I'm going to experience something I don't want to experience. Oftentimes, the controller is protecting us from an experience where we didn't have control and we got deeply hurt by it. And so now everything needs to be controlled. Everything. Can you feel that manager inside of you? Next one, please. Passive voice. This is the one that's just you're like, I'm feeling tired already, Vince. You're making me tired. Christmas is making me tired. I just want to sit and watch TV. I can't help. I can't do anything. It's the voice that says, turn down the energy level. If I'm just numb, I don't have to feel anything. Next one. I watched a TV show about a dad. He's like, I'm not involved in my kid's life because I'm really a screw up. He's got a stepdad who's like a doctor. What good am I in their life? Can you hear a voice inside? Anyone's got a voice that's like, I suck at this. I'm never going to achieve this. I'll never be able to accomplish that. This won't work. The world's not going to work that way. Why bother? It's protecting us from feelings of hope. And then it doesn't happen, and that feeling of disappointment is so painful, we just go, no, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to have a hope. Everything's going to suck. It's halfway through the hockey game. Oh, this game's over. Well, your team could come back. No, they're not coming back. They're not coming back. Then they come back. Oh, hey, that was pretty cool. You see how productive these things are? Go, one more. Please, or server, this one. If the whole message from Trevor about your eye is important, if your head's just going, no, it's not, this is bad, you will die if you put your eye forward, that's because this manager's taking care of you. If I turn down who I am and become whoever anyone else wants to be, I will be loved, I will be taken care of, life will be good. The second we say something like, hey, you should maybe bring your eye forward, no. That's death. Last one, critic and judge. Critic and judge basically says, you suck, they suck, everything sucks. If you have someone in your life who can tell you, when the only time they ever talk to you is they tell you what you did wrong. It's like you could do 1,000 things right. They can pick the one thing that you didn't do perfectly, and they will point that one out consistently. You know what's going on inside of them? That voice is kicking the crap out of them. Anyone knows that voice? Are we double-minded? Are these voices at play inside of us? Remember, at some point when we're not healthy, the manager and our self get blended. We can't tell the difference. When I say things like, Vince, or like, hey, you can't bring your eye forward into a relationship, you will not be loved. You're like, that's not true. That means your manager is now taken over the reality of your life. You can't tell that that's a part of you. It's not all of you. I talked about it on Sunday. A couple weeks ago, I said, hey, if you have this voice in your head that says no one's going to take care of you, if you think that voice is just true, you're blended. Halfway through, I heard someone laugh after they came up after the service, and they said to me, I literally was thinking as soon as you said that, Vince, that's not a voice, that's just true. And then you said, if you think this is just true and it's not a voice, you're blended. And she was like, this is what Jeff has been trying to teach us the last couple years. There are two things. Me and my wife showed up at a friend's party a couple days ago. I'm looking at my wife going, I can't remember. I think it was in the last week. Yeah, last week. We show up at the party. We come into this thing. It's at a bowling alley. We come down and I see my friend. She's bawling. It's her birthday. There's nobody at the table. We walk up. It was like, are you okay? She said, me and my boyfriend broke up 2 days ago. Most of the people invited to the party were a couple friends. And they sided with him at the breakup. Can you feel the exile inside of you going, oh, sweet mother of everything holy, that would be painful. It was so bad that the waitress was buying her drinks. She's like, I am so sorry. But here's why I tell you this story, because me and my wife come in and we sit down and we start having a conversation. And here's what she keeps saying. No one's going to show up for my birthday. First couple of times we were like, it's a lot of pain. By the time 3, she was like, no one's going to show up for my birthday. And me and my wife are looking at each other. We're like, she knows we're here, right? A few more times, finally we're like, you know we showed up, right? Like we're sitting right here. You can see us, right? We're not like invisible or something like that. She kept saying over and again, no one's going to show up for my birthday. Here's the problem with being blended. Schwartz, the guy who came up with this system, internal family systems. He says, when you're blended, and he didn't do this kind of backwards. He didn't come up with a theory like a thinker. He spent thousands of hours counseling people. When you're blended, he says you lose 8 core skills. You don't have access to them. The blending knocks part of you out. Can you throw up the first one for me? Curiosity. There's a part of my brain that's saying no one's going to show up for my birthday, but there's 2 people sitting in front of me. Curiosity would say, I wonder why my brain's saying that. Do you see how she didn't have access to that? You can't interrogate voices when you're blended. Because curiosity is how you interrogate a voice. The voice says, you're unlovable. And you're like, my wife of 20 years who's been with me that whole time seems to suggest maybe there might be some room to wiggle here. The voice is like, nope, you're unlovable. Let me think about that for a bit, right? Curiosity. We don't have access to that. Next one. Compassion. Next one. Clarity. We're literally sitting in front of you. Next one. Creativity. This is always a hard one. When I get blended, I go into black and white thinking. There's no nuance. It's my way, not my way. This way, not this way. Can you feel that? Next one up for me, Holly. Calm. Road rage. Okay, next one. Confidence. See how these voices beat you up? You can't say, no, but I am a good person. I just struggle. I am a good person. I just sometimes don't do well. I am a good person. I just made a mistake. Next one. Courage. Asking for what you need takes tremendous courage. Can you hear when that server voice or the critic voice just locks you down? You have no access to this, do you? Next one. Connectedness. When we're blended, we lose all of that. What do we need to be in we? Through this whole series, can you think of what we need to be in we? First, connectedness. You need to be creative. You need to be able to go, okay, you're different than me. Okay, how can we make this a win-win? You need to be calm. You need to actually be able to see another human being with clarity and not be like, oh, I'm just projecting on you who I'm scared of. You're just my grade 2 teacher who spoke to me this way. You're just my ex-wife. You're just this. You see how you need all of these skills to be in we? And blended basically just knocks those skills out. It's like, I don't even know. It's trying to play pickleball without a racket. Someone was telling me about pickleball today. You need a racket. It doesn't work without a racket. You need a racket. Okay, let's go to the solution now. Last 2 weeks ago I asked you, and Jeff's been working on this for years. I'm just late to the party here. Can you hear the different voices? Because if you're blended, you won't be able to hear them. There's a part of you, he calls it the self, the true self. That's the part of you that's hearing the voice that says, Vince, you need to get more done. That's the part that says, Vince, you're currently employed as a teacher's aide. I don't think you can just run out of the classroom screaming. You have a self. But every time I can feel different things come into me, I can feel myself trying to, wants to get blended. There's a part of me that wants to, I got to control that. No, it's not Vince. There's a controller voice. No, it's I have to control that. You see how we separate them out? Now, here's the ninja move from this one. Remember, he said, do not be double-minded. That's what doubt is. I don't know if he was studying internal family systems because it wasn't invented then. But when I read it, what I hear is this. How do we get ourself and the voices in our heads in a healthy relationship? A couple of weeks ago, we talked about having choice. When I'm blended, I don't have choice. That's another C you should put up there. You lose choice. I am so driven by those voices that I'm just like, I'm fighting, I'm running, I'm yelling, I'm shutting down, I'm taking care of myself. Like, it's just on automatic. Once I can separate them out, as Jeff has taught us. Now, here's the genius of internal family systems. This is the part that I want you to get. Once you can unblend yourself, this is what you do. And I want to invite you all to do this right now. Take whatever voice is in your head that's not very nice to you. It's the one that says you need to be better, you need to do more, you need to take care of more people, you can't bring that forward. Just whatever voice is in your head. And I want you to say this to it. Thank you for protecting me. Can you do it? The voice that's mean, the voice that's critical. Thank you for protecting me. Can you feel the difference inside? You feel how your self and those voices, suddenly the voices got a little bit quieter. Suddenly we're not double-minded. There's a self with voices that we can work with. You have another voice right now that's saying, Vince, that doesn't work. Say to that voice, thank you for protecting me. There's a voice that says, you can't do this. I understand. Thank you for protecting me. There's a voice that says, I'm tired right now. This is all too much. Thank you for protecting me. There's a voice that says, Vince, you're full of crap. Thank you for protecting me. As the voices come up, this is the genius of internal family systems. There is no bad parts, according to the model. The parts are just trying to help us. And so when something painful comes up, instead of going, shut up, get lost, I'm sick of you, you're wrecking my life, why do you always do this to me? You say, I believe you're trying to protect me from something. And so you thank that part. You see it with what is truly going on inside you and say, thank you for trying to protect me. And suddenly you're not double-minded. Imagine your Christmas that way. Not blended. Not losing your crap on someone because they thought the wrong thought and your thinker is totally taking over. Not the part of you that's like, your schedule for Christmas is so slammed because the doer is so focused. Instead of being like, why do you keep doing this? Thank you for protecting me. You show up when someone brings the wrong dish to the Christmas dinner, you go, oh, that's great. Not, seriously, the world's over. And I need to uninvite you now. Can you feel the difference? When there's a self that's running our lives and the voices are all lower, when we're unblended from them and we thank them so that they don't have to fight so hard to get our attention, suddenly the holidays look a lot different. Your relationship to the people around you looks a lot different. and your relationship inside of you looks a lot different. May we realize that we are not the voices in our head. May we realize that those voices are just trying to protect us from some really hard things. And may we turn to them with thanks so that they don't have to scream so loud to get our attention. Could it be that spiritual ninjas have a very, very calm inner life because they've done this work? I think that's what Sensei James is getting at. May you have a calm, compassionate, creative, beautiful Christmas.